Hello everyone, today I'm working on this Con Cor 464. Now it doesn't say Kato anywhere on this, but it's exactly the same engine. Only says made in China. But I recognize this, it's reverse engineered or they got permission to do it, or I don't know, it's the exact same engine. So first of all, it's missing the center crank. But everything else seems to be there. And I'm not sure that it runs now, but we're going to find out pretty soon. This is the little screw you have to remove the body shell. It has its bell. It has the two ladders here. These can fall out. And then for the tender, everything looks good. They have tender pickup. That's why there's two wires leading to the back. And that looks to be in good shape. I'm not going to do any changes to that. Other than I'll probably disassemble the shell, just wash it. So let's get going. Oh, incidentally, I got some good news. I'm up to 888 subs now. Crazy eights. If you want to hear a good railroading stories, you can look it up, the Crazy Eights incident. They even made a movie about it with Denzel Washington and Chris Pine called Unstoppable. So it gave me an excuse to watch a movie with my girlfriend and with my daughter about trains without them too much realizing it. So try that, see if they'll listen to it. Anyways, Denzel and Chris Pine are really good actors, so it was a good movie. All right, I'll show you a picture of my my channel with the 888. So I'm just going to remove the shell first, then we'll take a look at it. I've got a parts engine. With that parts engine, I've been able to do three engines. So I don't suggest you start doing that, buying parts engines. Let's say you have to buy two engines to make one, and you end up paying $25 per engine, which I don't know if you looked, but the trains are getting more expensive. Also, these compared with the Katos, they have a little light bulb. The Kato does not have a light bulb, but the shell is the same. So I'm going to be sending that off to cleaning. And what's under here? This goes, it's taken apart just like the Kato. I'm just going to inspect it at first. I don't think I have to do too much to it. It looks kind of clean. Even this little light bulb, I don't have to remove it. I might want to clean the wheels though. Believe it or not, these pick up electricity on this model. You can see there's a little insulator by the wheel there. These are blackened. The Kato ones are nice and shiny. But there is a little insulator, which means this picks up from that side. And this picks up from the other side. And you'll see as I remove this plate to get to the wheels, it will become evident which side they pick up. Taking the tender shell apart, it's a little bit tricky because these four little pins are a little bit on the fragile side, so you definitely want to take your time. Oh, and it's got a backup light too. I don't know if that's from the factory. I have no idea. My other one like that, I never took it apart, so I couldn't tell you if that's from the factory. So that's kind of neat. So we're going to start cleaning the wheels now. To get to the wheels, you have to remove the center crank, and that all you need to do is come in and pry very gently under here. So very gently, and it'll just pop out. And then that's it. They can just hang there Also going to remove these pins from the back. Same thing, take it easy and they will pop out. So before you start this project, I think you should definitely sweep the floor, because if you lose these, I've had this happen before where they just go through the crank pin. When that happens, I just leave it. I just completely ignore it. When it's time to put the engine back together, it goes back together. Also, you will notice all the drivers look a little bit different. Number 1 and number 3 have smaller counterweights, and then the number 2 driver has a bigger counterweight. Also, the pin here is square, so you can't really mix them up. The main driver has the eccentric crank. Yeah, these are stuck in there, good. You know what, I'm not even going to mess with it. I'm going to disassemble it like that. I don't really need to do anything. I can feel it moving, so I'll continue then. So you use the crank as oh, it went through again, so that's fine. So this goes to the side for later, and then this goes to the side for later. And then this one will just pull out nice and easy. We'll do the same thing to the other side. So I've got a parts engine to come in and do that. That has the crank pin. Wow, they're stuck in there, good. I don't know, I may not force it, I may not need to. I may just disassemble it like that, really. And this little part here, this is good. We're going to keep that up there. You can remove the pilot beam with that. Remove the pilot beam, remove the steam chest with the cylinders. Remove that, they go like that. And these spread out to the side. So it's not too hard to work on. But we're going to clean the wheels. Take a look at what's inside. It doesn't look too dirty, so that's very nice. I've got a parts one of these complete with the motor. And then the little plate comes out. And it's really neat because it has all the brake detail. This one here is broken off. It has all the brake detail. Oh, look at that, I'm missing bearings. Look at that. Somebody's definitely been playing with this. So there's supposed to be 2 brass bearings like that. Fortunately, my parts engine has them. So as you can see, this trailing truck picks up from that side of the track, and the front truck picks up from the other side of the track. Exactly just like so. Oh, that's good. I'm going to bring in my parts engine. So I try to organize my parts as much as I can. Actually missing a lot on that side. I was missing the main connecting rod there. So that's going to need a lot of parts finally. So I need the connecting rods and I need the bearings from my parts engine. Look at that. So this, I would remove it completely, but it's wired in. I do not want to resolder the wires, so I'm not going to mess with it. Although there's a little screw here that I can remove. But keep in mind, this does pick up electricity. If you put the wheels on the wrong direction, you will create a short circuit. So when we're working on this engine, keep that in mind. If I can't take the wheels in my hand to clean them. So this just spreads out like that, then you have access to your wheels. But be very mindful, this side does not have the insulation and this side has the insulation. So when it goes back, make sure that you have it on the same direction. Otherwise, you create a short circuit and you're buggered. So I'll just clean these with my rag. These are anodized. This is how they make the dark wheels. So that is okay. They're not particularly dirty. It's just missing a lot of parts. So I'm going to do the other wheels just like that. I washed the side frames with some dish soap and my toothbrush. Then I'll put it right back to here. My screwdriver is magnetic a little bit. That's meant to help you, but just for now, didn't help me too much. Perfect. And we'll take a look at the little pilot truck here. That's very simple, but effective. This is one of my favorite engines. For sure, for sure. If you force it a little bit, the wheels will come off. I really don't want to do that. I'll just clean them like this. This will be good. So this thing I paid at the auction. I paid $50, which I thought was a good deal. But don't buy engines at $50. Don't buy 2 engines at $50 to make one. You're better off just to pay $100 just to get a good one. And then we can tackle the main wheels here. We'll start with the main driver, which is called the number 2 driver. And these, they come out like that. Sometimes the little axles crack and they release the wheels. That happens sometimes. So I'm gonna get my parts engine and we're gonna get a bearing for this. So here's my parts engine. So when you're looking at that, this one probably would run, except it's missing the tender. So obviously I got this for cheap. And when I ordered this engine, I made sure I had the parts on here to fix it. Also, if I get extra parts, I'll put them in the baggie so I can always track them down. So I fixed another engine before with this, and now I've got 2 engines that are fixed using this engine. Fortunately, it has all its bearings, and there's an extra motor if I ever decide I need one. So I'm just going to remove the bearings that I need from this. I got all the parts that I was missing, the 2 bearings, and also the excenter crank and the excenter pin, and the main rod there, the main connecting rod from my parts engine. Also, I noticed that these wheels here, the number 3 drivers, are missing the they're both missing the traction tires. So I just happened to have some. This is the part number. Everything's written in Japanese because I got these from Plaza Japan, and they are probably for a C62, which is another really neat engine. And they're a little small, but they work. I replaced the tire on my GS4 with them, and that worked out great. That was a really good project. Really enjoyed doing that. So I close the package right back up like that so I can find them when I need them. It's important to get organized. I think I could be just a little bit better organized also. So while I have everything in my hand, it's the right time to do that. So that's going to take a little bit of doing, but I'll get it on. Fits like a glove. The traction tires, you can run without it. The engine will work. But, you know, passenger cars are heavy in comparison to the engine. So you definitely can use them. It's a good thing if you have them to put them on. So this little guy is missing its bearing. So I'm going to make sure it's clean using my rag. That is always the best technique. So this engine, it wasn't too terribly dirty to begin with. It still has a little bit of lubrication from the factory. So we're going to look into that. I'm going to clean all the wheels like that. And then I'll come back. So I am going to lubricate it as I put it back. Just one drop. That's all you need. And then the little bearing will go on top of it. And it'll spread out the lubrication. So there's a little lip on here that goes towards the wheel. And then as you bring the two axles together, they are exactly a quarter turn apart. So if that one is towards the horizon, this one will be vertical like a tree. Let me just make sure I got the orientation correct. Well, there's your problem right there. These are totally out of sequence. So probably that's why probably the guy couldn't make it work. I'm sorry for laughing, but what it is what it is. So yes, this one should be vertical and this one should be horizontal. So why is that? Okay, well, because when you're doing, let's say you're doing the locomotion, you know, our bodies are wired so that they go, I'm checking the gauge, it should go in just a little bit. So our bodies go 180, that's just the way we're wired. You keep that handy, I'll need it some more. Whereas a steam engine, the cylinders can push and pull. So this one would be kind of in a position where if you push and pull, there's no mechanical leverage. It's very hard to get the locomotive moving. But see, the other side is in a perfect position, so when you push and pull, it's got a lot of leverage. Allows you to get the engine going. This one goes in neutral, but this one is in a perfect position to pull the engine. So that's why they're a quarter turn apart. It's not a very noticeable detail, but when you're putting it together, you may as well put it together right, if you know what I mean. So this is, oh, I forgot, I wanted to lubricate this side. This side needs some lubrication. Same as the other side, is just one tiny little drop and it'll spread it around. The lubrication, they already had some, it was okay. There's no need to redo this. So I'm going to do the exact same thing on the number 1 driver. Number 3 driver has the traction tires. So I'm going to keep going like that. So I got all my drivers sorted out. How about we make sure that this thing actually runs before I spend all the time to put it back together. So it's running very well. So I'm gonna also lubricate this side of it. So you just put one drop on each gear, and then I'll run it again to make sure that everything is spread around. Don't have to run it very long, just enough to make a couple of turns. So that's good. And this little pad here is just there to hide your worm gear. So I'm going to remove that. And this, I've broken this before, so take your time. Take your time. It's really good to have it. So there's your worm gear with the two little brass bearings. Just one drop, and these look really really clean, so that's good. Real good to know. Well, so far so good. We're clean and lubricated. Also, this engine picks up electricity from the tender. I think the tender helps quite a lot, like a lot. So we're gonna clean these wheels too. They're just like your regular freight car trucks. You just pull them out like that from the side, and then you can clean them. And as I clean them with my rag, I am noticing that my rag's not getting dirty. So they're not terribly dirty. I just like to get in there just to be sure. So I've got 5 more axles to go. I am going to remove this counterweight here just to double check that everything's good under here. So this is not super hard to remove. It should just slide right over. And then we'll have a look at what's under there. Everything here looks pretty good, looks ship shape. You can see the contact strips from the truck collecting. Looks factory. Could have been done like that from the factory. I have no reason to doubt it. I've just never seen one before. I have one of these that is mint, so I never took it apart. It always ran awesome. So these will just snap into place. So then I can put my drivers back on. Now the gears, you have to, as you put them in, you have to tighten them so they're synchronized together. If you don't nail it just right, the engine will bind. So you see here, my main driver, the number 2 driver, I have the hole for the excenter crank just on the top, so I have to make sure that all three are on the top there. So the engine, it will turn like this going forward, so all the slack will be towards the back. So I have to time this just right so that I can have the slack at the back. So however long this takes, it's worth taking the time. And then check that the other side is also correct. 100%. So now I can bring this plate back in. And I'll put the trailing truck and the pilot truck. With their respective screws. I always do that. I just start them and then I'll come back and tighten them later. As they say, maybe I got the wrong screw at the right place. I've done stuff like that before. Just like the rest of you guys, I make mistakes. I don't mind making mistakes on camera like that. Shows you I'm just human, and if I can do it, you can do it. Nice. So that one looks good. Let's see about the other one. Oh, you know what I did? I probably took a screw from here and put it in the wrong place. So this long one will go in the trailing truck. And the other short one will go on my plate. To keep my my pilot truck in place. There, that looks much more professional. And now the next step is putting these things back on. So I just do one side at a time, just making sure that my pins are pushed in far enough. So these, you can see this side's not very good looking, so it goes on that side. These, they just go right in here. They would really want to go in there. You don't have to work very hard to get them in. And then the next part is going to be the excenter crank. These are the two parts I was missing. So these, they just snap in there. They'll just snap in there. It's not very hard to do it. There, just like that. And then we'll slide them into where they go. Slide it into the main rod first, and then you can use the main rod maybe as a tool to get it in. Is this hard? Is this not hard? Well, it's just like, as far as I'm concerned, it's one of the easiest engines to work on. Okay, so this also has a timing. So you make it so it's perpendicular to where it goes, and then you take it back, maybe a quarter turn, and the hole is square. So it's going to line itself up. You put it around where it goes, it will just line itself up. I don't want it like that. I want it just a little bit further back. I think I can, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can. Just want it to go just a little bit back. There, I felt it go in, and that's done. So I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So it wasn't that easy to get it back, but I did it. So now I'm going to test it on the bench just to make sure that we've got it good. I feel it binding it just a little bit. But let's give it a chance here, see what happens. Gonna give it just a little more power, just to see what's gonna happen. Actually, looks good. Drop down the power. Maybe I was holding the crank with my hands. So I can feel it binding a little bit. I'm gonna have a look at the timing again, because that's not good enough. So that took a little bit of time, but now I've got it to where I'm happy. I'm gonna want to go try it on the track before I put the shell back on. But so far everything's looking real good. I'm gonna put in the description links to one engine that I saved with my donor engine, and then also that engine I switched it to DCC later on, so I'm gonna put that DCC video and also the video where I put the traction tire on my GS4. So if you want more videos, you can go and watch those. So now it runs pretty good, and the backup light runs too. So that's pretty neat. Now all I gotta do is put the shell back on. So the front one goes in pretty easily, and then the tender one I have to do it off camera because it's a little bit tricky. The tender shell's not particularly hard to do, but I want to be mindful of the little tabs and these stirrups. They're a little bit fragile, and on this engine they were not broken, so I wanted to keep it that way. And now it's time to run some trains. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. I certainly had fun making it for you. See you soon.